Welcome to the deep dive. We sift through the sources, find those core insights, maybe some surprising details, really those aha moments that help you feel truly informed. Today, we're diving into a piece of American history that, well, it still casts a really long shadow. The Salem Witch Trials of 1692.
Right.
I mean, the outcome was just tragic. 20 people dead, over 200 imprisoned. Historians have been wrestling with this for centuries, haven't they?
Absolutely. It's endlessly fascinating and deeply troubling.
So our mission today is to get beyond that sort of surface story. We want to explore the cultural fears, the pressures, the human dynamics, what really happened.
Exactly. And it is complex. It's much more than just a historical footnote.
Yeah.
It's really a crucial study in human behavior under extreme duress. And to get it, you really have to immerse yourself as much as possible in their world, the world of the Puritans.
Their beliefs, their anxieties.
Precisely. Understanding their world is key to understanding the choices they made, even the unthinkable ones.
Okay, let's unpack that. So, picture this. You're dropped into Salem Village, late 1600s.
Which is present-day Danvers, Massachusetts, important to remember. Not Salem Town, the port.
Right, good distinction. So Salem Village, small, very devout Puritan settlement, agrarian, tight-knit, and life is governed by these incredibly strict moral and religious codes. Everything, like from dawn till dusk, is seen through this lens of fighting sin, fighting the devil.
Who they believed was a very real, tangible force.
And fearing divine punishment. It wasn't just belief, it was their reality.
It absolutely framed everything. And what's fascinating and terrifying is how you had multiple layers of intense pressure converging right there. It really was like a powder keg.
Okay, so what were these layers?
Well, first, that core religious pressure. They genuinely believed they were in a constant daily spiritual war with Satan. He wasn't abstract. He was an active enemy trying to infiltrate God's community.
Wow.
Then you had serious social conflict. Salem Village wasn't unified. There was this long-simmering, bitter conflict with the nearby, wealthier, more secular Salem town.
Over what? Land, money.
Yeah, land rights, taxes, even control over the church. It created real friction, resentment within the community and between the two settlements.
Got it.
And layered on top of all that was just the sheer hardship of life.
Right.
Harsh New England winters. Food shortages weren't uncommon. Deadly diseases like smallpox were a constant threat.
And the fear of Native American attacks.
Exactly. A very real fear on the frontier back then. So each of these things alone is stressful. Put them all together.
Okay, I see. You combine all that, the stress, the suspicion, the fervent belief, and suddenly any little disturbance, anything weird or unexplained.
Would easily look like the devil's work. It's not a huge leap in that context. You're already living on this razor's edge, constantly vigilant.
Right, and then the sources show that powder keg found its spark.
It really did,
Cool.
and in a way that nobody saw coming.
This is where it gets wild, right? Early 1692, Reverend Samuel Parris's house,
The village ministry.
his 9-year-old daughter Betty and his 11-year-old niece Abigail Williams, they start having these, fits.
Alarming fits. Screaming, convulsions, throwing things, making strange noises, contorting their body.
Unbelievable. And the local doctor, William Griggs.
Completely baffled. He examines them, finds no physical cause, no medical explanation he can offer.
So connect that back to the Puritan worldview you mentioned.
Well, for them in that world, an illness with no physical explanation points almost immediately to one thing.
Witchcraft.
Witchcraft. The invisible world impacting the visible. It wasn't the last resort explanation. For many, it was the most logical one. God and Satan were active forces.
So what happens when that kind of belief slams into unexplained events and societal anxiety?
Chaos. Fear overrides reason very quickly.
And it didn't stop with just those two girls, did it?
No, it spread. Other young women and girls in the village started showing similar symptoms, similar dramatic behavior. They become the afflicted girls.
The ones doing the accusing.
Yes. And under intense pressure from adults, who is doing this to you? And with this implicit expectation they should name someone, they start pointing fingers, accusing local women of bewitching them. Their testimonies, often very dramatic and public.
Just fan the flame.
Exactly, gave shape to the fear. Suddenly, it wasn't just a possibility. It felt like proof that witches were right there among them.
And who are the first ones accused? That tells a story too, doesn't it?
It really does. The first three were Tituba.
Reverend Parris's enslaved woman, right. Indigenous or African descent, the records aren't entirely clear.
Correct. Then Sarah Good, a homeless woman known for begging and maybe having a temper.
An easy target.
And Sarah Osborne. Elderly, quite ill, hadn't been to church in ages, involved in a property dispute. Again, someone on the margins.
When I look at that initial group, it really strikes you they're all outsiders in some way. Makes you wonder how much was real fear and how much was just targeting the vulnerable, using existing prejudice.
That's a crucial question, and the answer is probably both. They were easy scapegoats. They fit the profile in a way for a community looking for answers rooted in sin or otherness.
But it didn't stop there. That's the terrifying part.
No, it spiraled rapidly.
Yeah.
And this is where it gets even more chilling. The accusations moved beyond the fringes, beyond the obvious outcasts.
Right into the heart of the community.
Exactly. Suddenly, respected figures are being accused. Martha Corey, known for being pious, but also skeptical of the girl's claims initially. Rebecca Nurse, 71 years old, a grandmother, deeply respected church member. Her accusations sent shockwaves.
I can imagine.
And it went even higher. Even Lady Mary Phipps, the wife of the governor of Massachusetts, was apparently named at one point.
Wow, so no one was safe.
Effectively, no. Trust just evaporated. Neighbor turned against neighbor. And you see these accusations fueled not just by fear, but by, well, old grudges. Property disputes coming back up. Jealousy. Personal vendettas finding cover under this witchcraft panic.
So this leads into the actual trials and, grimly, the executions, June 92 to May 93.
A truly dark period. The numbers are just stark. Over 200 people accused.
200.
30 found guilty by the court, set up specifically for this, and 20 executed.
19 by hanging, and 1, Giles Corey.
Pressed to death with stones. A horrific outlier because he refused to plead guilty or not guilty, likely to protect his property for his heirs.
And that doesn't even count the people who died in prison.
No, tragically. Many others perished in the jails while waiting for trial. The conditions were awful.
What about the legal process itself? You mentioned the court. How could this happen on that scale?
A huge part of it was the acceptance of spectral evidence. This is absolutely key.
Explain that. What is spectral evidence?
It's testimony where the accuser, usually one of the afflicted girls, claimed that the specter or the spirit or the shape of the accused person was tormenting them.
So not the person themselves, but their ghost or spirit.
Exactly. The accused person might be miles away, even locked up in jail, but their specter could supposedly appear and pinch, joke, or otherwise harm the victim.
And the court accepted this.
They did, initially. Under pressure and within that worldview, they accepted it as valid evidence. But think about it. How do you possibly defend yourself against that?
You can't. How do you prove your spirit wasn't somewhere doing something bad?
Precisely. It's unverifiable. It made defense virtually impossible.
Which created this awful paradox, right? If you denied it.
Denying guilt often made you look more guilty, like a hardened witch refusing to confess. Stubbornness was seen as proof.
But if you confessed...
Ironically, a false confession to witchcraft sometimes saved your life. It was seen as repentance. You'd name other witches, often under duress, and might be spared execution, though you'd still likely lose everything.
An impossible choice. Confess falsely or maintain innocence and likely die. All built on fear and this. Spectral non-evidence.
A total inversion of justice. Terror trumped truth.
So historians for centuries now have been trying to figure out why. Why Salem? Why then?
Yeah. There's no single, easy answer. No one theory explains it all perfectly.
It sounds like what you called it earlier, a perfect storm.
Exactly. It's most likely a convergence, a complex mix of factors we've already touched on. Let's synthesize them.
Okay.
First, undeniably, religious extremism. That intense Puritan belief in an active devil, in witchcraft as his tool, and their sense of being in a holy covenant constantly under attack. That's the bedrock.
Right, the foundation for the fear.
Second, those social tensions we discussed. The village versus town conflict, but also internal village strife. Property disputes were huge. Rebecca Nurse's family, for instance, was involved in long-running land battles. Accusations became a weapon.
Settling old scores under the guise of piety.
Seems likely in some cases. Then third, gender roles. You can't ignore that the vast majority accused and executed were women.
Why?
Puritan society had very strict expectations for women. Those who didn't fit, maybe they were too independent, outspoken healers, widows controlling property, or just didn't conform, they were more vulnerable to suspicion. There's an undercurrent of fear about female power or independence.
Okay.
And fourth, you have psychological factors. Theories like mass hysteria or maybe collective trauma playing a role in the girl's behavior and the community's reaction.
And that ergot poisoning theory.
Right, the ergot theory. A fungus on rye bread that can cause convulsions and hallucinations similar to some reported symptoms. It's debated, it doesn't explain everything, especially the targeted nature of accusations, but it's a possible contributing factor for some initial symptoms.
So no smoking gun, but a combination.
A potent, deadly combination.
Yeah.
Extreme belief, community stress, social friction, maybe some psychological phenomena all boiling over. The perfect storm.
Thankfully, it didn't last forever. The tide did turn.
Yes. By the fall of 1692, doubt started creeping in, even among influential figures. People started questioning the fairness, the methods.
Like increased Mather.
Exactly. A very respected minister, president of Harvard, he became a vocal critic, especially of spectral evidence. He famously argued it was better for 10 witches to escape than one innocent person be condemned. That carried weight.
A crucial shift in thinking.
A very crucial shift. It signaled that relying on invisible tormentors wasn't sound justice.
And the governor eventually stepped in?
Yes, Governor William Phips. Remember, his own wife had been accused, which likely influenced him. In early 1693, he ordered the court to stop allowing spectral evidence.
And that basically pulled the rug out from under the trials.
Essentially, yes. Without that key evidence, the whole system started to collapse. He eventually pardoned those remaining in prison and formally dissolved that special court.
And there were later efforts to make amends.
Yes, over time. Slowly, painfully. Families of victims were eventually compensated financially by the colony. Public apologies were made. And much later, as recently as 2001, Massachusetts formally exonerated all those accused, clearing their names, acknowledging the injustice.
Which brings us to the end here. What does all this mean for us? What are the takeaways from Salem?
I think the lessons are profound and, honestly, timeless.
It feels like a stark warning.
It is about the danger of unchecked fear, about how mass hysteria can grip a community, a society, about how fragile justice can be when reason is abandoned for panic and suspicion.
How quickly things escalate when fear takes the wheel instead of truth.
And ultimately, Salem wasn't really about witches in the supernatural sense. It was about people.
Yeah.
It was about fear, power dynamics, community pressure. In a world where the devil felt utterly real, suspicion itself became lethal. It's a powerful reminder that critical thinking, compassion, seeking actual evidence, these are vital defenses against collective fear.
We have to actively uphold them.
Always. Especially when fear feels overwhelming or seems, righteous.
So a final thought for you listening. Think about how often today, maybe in smaller ways, maybe larger ones, fear of the unknown, the other, perceived threats can still shape our judgments, can impact the people around us. What stands out to you when you look in this historical mirror